So to share the knowledge, we have with us Dr. Aparna Nadkarni with 37 years of experience, and she has kindly agreed to answer all our questions today. So thank you so much, Dr. Nadkarni.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
What does exactly coronavirus do in our bodies? What is it?
Okay, so good morning, everybody, and I hope you all are in good health. Some have you may have come across with corona among you or your friends or relatives. Some may have recovered, some may not have touched it, or some may have got it but never understood it. That you are asymptomatic, so you never know when you had it. So now it's a long time, almost a year, we are in the pandemic virus. When the virus came in 2019 end, we were just beating the bush blindly, but now after data, we know what exactly it does to our body. So it's the virus which not only causes pneumonia, but it causes two main problems. One is inflammation. That's a medical language, so I will explain you. Inflammation means a swelling of the cells. And second is a thrombosis. That's a blood clot in the blood vessels. So by these two mechanisms, it hampers oxygen supply to the cells and it causes swelling of the cells. So the cell cannot function to the extent they should. Now, as the port of the entry is through nose and mouth, the pneumonia is manifested first. But it is not only pneumonia, it is basically the blood clotting and the inflammation which hits us and which troubles us and which takes us to the severe COVID. The only one thing I will like to mention over here, that the virus we were facing in last year, not the same now. The virus has mutated as per the natural tendencies, how we change our clothes, the virus mutates. But this mutated virus is highly infectious. It has shifted its age shift to the younger group. Maybe because all the oldies are vaccinated now and the younger ones are still to get vaccinated. And the third most important thing is it has learned to escape the RT-PCR test, which is the most reliable diagnostic test up till now. So the virus has learned to escape. It has become more smart. And the fourth thing, it is not proved yet, but we are getting pneumonia earlier and earlier. Like previously, we used to say it stays in our nasopharynx for 5 days and then it traverses down. It replicates here in your pharynx and then traverses down. But now we are getting earlier and earlier pneumonia. Okay, so that's about what it exactly does to our body.
So I was asking, what is the usual journey of a patient and how does it progress over weeks?
Okay, so we are lucky. We are lucky that 80% of the people are asymptomatic. They never know when they had COVID and when it passed away and how many others they have infected because they never know they had COVID. So we are lucky enough that 80% of us are asymptomatic, 20% will be symptomatic. Out of 20, only 5% will need the hospital admissions. And out of 5%, usual mortality is just around 1.5 to 1.8%. So we are lucky enough that we have a less mortality. Now, asymptomatic patients, they just don't know what's happening. But the symptomatic ones will get a mild symptoms. And usually after end of the 1 week, that is all the complications, if it has to happen, are between 7 and 12 days. Because 7 and 12 days, the body immune system over responses. And there is a huge inflammation and there is a thrombotic, that is a clotting part also, which can be detected on serum markers. That's the blood test. So usually you have to be very cautious, vigilant, and fast acting in the second week. And then you have to treat it accordingly. And usually the symptoms start fading away from 14th day. And by 18 to 21 days, you are out of COVID. That's the usual journey about the COVID.
So the symptoms start fading away after 14 days minimum.
No, if it's a mild COVID, you may not pass in that second stage, which is called as inflammatory stage. That happens between 7 to 12 days. You may not pass. You may just be with the mild symptoms and just get out of it. But there are few people, especially with comorbidities, diabetics, hypertensive, which may get this complication. So you should be aware of the complications and you should be very careful. I will tell you later on what care you have to take. But that is between 7 and 12 days. That's very important. And as I told you, with the new mutant, it has preceded a little prior. Like we are now seeing people getting pneumonia on 5th day itself. So you have to be cautious about it.
Got it. So how can we prevent it from happening? Can we prevent it from happening?
Now, prevention, yes, we can prevent it. At least we can prevent it from passing into a moderate or severe COVID, and we can limit it to the mild variety. So the prevention is, everybody has bombarded you, masking and social distancing. Social distancing is very difficult in our country, but masking is must. My friends, we have to really, really change our behavior, and we have to be COVID appropriate behavior. Don't let your mask away. Your mask is your vaccine. So never ever take your mask away. In fact, with this plateau of, we are almost on the plateau or almost on the peak of the second level. Whenever you go out, if you have to go out, wear double masks. Double mask is the best mask to use is N95 mask, which filters the virus best, and the 3-ply mask, 3-ply surgical mask. They're easily available on Amazon. We were not using them. We were satisfied with the cloth masks. But with this new variant, which is highly infectious, and now when we are at the peak of the second wave, I feel it's always better when you go out in a crowd, wear your 2 masks. Now, another thing is disposal of the masks. Please cut it and dispose, because otherwise there are many bad people in the society who will just clean it and reuse it. Third thing is about the sterilization of the masks. Like N90 cloth masks, you can wash very well and dry in the sun. But the N95 mask, if you wash, the intermoving threads will get damaged, and the capacity for oxygen also to go in, you will feel the mask is getting blocked. So N95 mask, surgical mask, you can sterilize three ways. If you have a UVC sterilizer at home, there are UVC sterilizers available on Amazon. Those who can afford it can take it, but it's not must. You can just put it in a sterilizer for say 1 or 2 minutes and it gets sterilized. If you don't have it, no worries. You can just take a cotton sanitizer, alcohol-based sanitizer, and just clean it. And the third way for the people, it's the very safest way, and that is what I do. If daily you are going out, keep 6 paper bags somewhere at the corner of your house and take a set of 6 masks. So once you use 1 mask, at the end of the day, you put it in the first bag. Then you go on using till the 6th. And the first bag you use after a week, so that the coronavirus, if at all it is on the your mask itself, doesn't remain active after a week. So you can keep like that set of masks, and you can just number the bags 1 to 6. And the first one you can use on the 7th. One day, Sunday is a holiday. So first one you can use on the 7th day. So that is all about masking. You know about social distancing. I will here like to mention one more thing about pranayam Bhramari. Because Bhramari, like a deep inhalation and that humming sound. It is proved now that the nitric oxide level in our sinuses increases manifold after that humming sound. And nitric oxide is definitely a virucidal. It's not proved that it acts against coronavirus itself, but it is proved it to be virucidal. So a simple Bhramari while going out or after coming from in your house, it's very beneficial. Then the betadine goggles. When you go out in a crowd, make it a habit that warm water with some betadine drops. If you don't have betadine, is easily available in the market, in the pharmacy. If not, salt, but gargle it. That reduces, if at all you are exposed, that reduces your viral load. See, our whole aim is we cannot prevent from getting infected, but to keep your viral load less, keep your immunity good, so that you fall in that mild variety. And you just pass off like a normal cold. You don't go in the moderate or severe variety. So keep your food good. Be away from all the negative media. See, media always tells you about deaths. They never tell you about the patient who was on ventilator for 10 days and recovered fully. Such news they don't bring out. So there are positive news also. So be with the positivity. Keep your food good. Eat good vitamin C, zinc-rich food. Vitamin C, all orange and yellow fruits like mango season. So you can enjoy your mangoes. Amla, yes. And zinc is in all seafood, especially shell sea fish and eggs, and keep good vitamin D, like have a good intake, take a good rest and maintain your immunity. One last thing I will like to mention about Jalaneti. Jalaneti is our procedure in our yogas, and it's difficult to learn the procedure. It's not very easy, but with practice you can do it. Jalaneti is like putting warm water in one of your nostril and taking it out from the other nostril. You have to learn it. And if you really want to learn it, I will advise you to go on a YouTube and watch a video by Dr. Dhananjay Kelkar, who is a surgeon of Dinanath Mangeshkar Hospital. There they have practiced it in all the hospital personnel, including their ward boys, sisters, everybody. And for last 1 year, and they have found a very, very less incidence of COVID infection among their hospital people, because they are very much exposed. And those who had it had passed with just the mild COVID. So that Jalaneti, but it has to be learned, because if you do it hastily, it may go in your sinuses. So if at all you want to learn, you can learn it slowly. Yes, that's all about the prevention.
Are cloth masks also safe? These are widely available in the market today. So how do we know that these are safe?
Yes, cloth masks are safe when we have less eruption in the society. That is, when this virus comes in waves. We had a first wave, then it waved off, the whole graph came down. Now the second wave started. So now we are at the peak of the second wave. So when the cases are rising, when there is a rampant chances of virus around you, then I feel only cloth mask is not safe. Now, when the wave comes down, the cases are very few around it, again we can go on only cloth mask. But remember, because I'm telling this because we are going to get hit by a third wave, maybe somewhere at the end of this year, or we don't know when it will be. But then when the cases start rising, do double maskings. And with N95 or 3-ply masks, they are not very costly. They are available easily on Amazon. That is what we do in hospitals, because we are day in and out exposed to the coronavirus. And when we are at the peak of the wave, even all of you are exposed day in and out to the coronavirus when you go outside. If you are at home, not in contact with anybody, need not use it. But when you go out, yes, double masking is must, especially at the peak of the wave.
Is there a specific way to double mask, or is it like just putting two masks one over the other?
Should I just show you?
Yes, please, if you can.
This is the N95 mask. It has a clip here at the top. So the clip has to sit on the nose. Venus is a good company. It's very reliable company for N95 mask. And this is a 3-ply surgical mask. It has 3 layers. And these both are available everywhere, on the Amazon also, in the pharmacy also. So when you take a N95 mask, you have to take the lower strip first. insert it inside. Then you take the above strip, insert it here, and tighten it. You have to be careful to tighten it so that there is no gap inside. And just adjust this clip as per your nose shape. And then on top of that, 1 minute, excuse me, you take your cloth mask and wear on top of it. This is your protecting your N95 also from dust and from getting unclean. Now I take it out. N95, you have to take the lower strip first out so that the outer part which is dirty is not touching you anywhere. You are not supposed to touch your mask. Supposed to hold the string and take it out without touching you. Let me tell you one small thing, that remember, the port of entry is only your mouth, your nose, and your eyes. So whatever viruses are there on your body, on your fingers, on your hands, if you don't touch with your to your eyes inside, nose and mouth, you are not going, that port of entry, the virus is not going to enter. So be careful about that, frequent washing your hands, keeping your hands clean, and not putting your hand somewhere near, not putting on the outer side of the mask. That's the way you will dirty your hands.
You mentioned about including zinc in the diet,
yes.
Right? So there's a question which is asking what food in the vegetarian diet can give you zinc?
Okay. Vegetarian diet, very few food items have zinc, but yes, in all our green leafy vegetables and sprouted pulses, they have zinc. But mainly zinc store is in eggs. So you can at least be eggetarian, if not a non-vegetarian.
If vegetarian, then we have to take like supplements of zinc.
Yeah, you have to take a supplement. You can take a Zincovit. Zincovit is a vitamin which contains zinc. See, basically these things have a lot less data, but it is proved that in the people who have zinc deficiency, vitamin deficiency, they see more corona symptoms, or it doesn't remain to a milder variety. So it's better to just replenish whatever you have less in your body, especially vitamin D, zinc, and vitamin C. Vitamin C is very safe because if you take extra, it's not going to matter. It's going to just get excreted through your urine.
How do we count day 1 and why is it important?
Day 1 is very important in the COVID journey because day one is the day when you had your first symptoms. Now the symptoms can be malaise, body ache, little fever, little cold, sore throat, loss of taste, loss of smell, or sometimes just weakness or loss of appetite. Or recently we have found out even the symptoms of acidity like pain, diarrhea. These are headaches. These are the new symptoms which are also seen with COVID. So whenever you get symptoms, that doesn't mean you have got COVID. You get headaches from so many causes. But you have to note down that day, that this is the first day I got the symptom. And it's very important because initially this RT-PCR test, which is for diagnosis of the COVID, has a 30% fallacy. That means it can be falsely negative 30%. You may have COVID, but still you may have RT-PCR negative. Especially as I told you with this second mutant, which escapes the RT-PCR sometimes. So we used to advise that 5th to 7th day after symptom is the best time to do RT-PCR. You will get the least negative reports in that period, 5th to 7th day. But now with this mutant, we have shifted it. Now we say that you, as soon as you get symptom, get yourself tested. On 2nd or 3rd day, or maybe 2nd day itself, you get yourself tested. Because we have seen the complications from earlier, from 5th day. So 5th day, if you go to get RT-PCR done, and with this heavy crowd, sometimes you get 24 to 48 hours to get your report. So you may land up in problems. So get yourself tested on that day itself. So first day is important from that point. Second, most of the complications, if you say between 7 and 12 days, you know which are your 7 and 12 days, when you have to remain vigilant and cautious and very alert about your health. The third thing is 14 days quarantine. Now the Bombay Municipal Corporation has increased it to 18 days. But once you get symptoms, you are maximally infectious 1 day prior to the symptom and 3 to 4 days after symptoms. And till 10 days, you can be infectious, 10 to 14 days. And slowly, you are less and less infection. And after 14 days, even if your RT-PCR is positive, you cannot infect. You are not infectious to others. So from that quarantine point of view, isolation point of view also, first day is very important. And another thing, some of the medicines like say remdesivir, which stops the replication, inhibits the replication. Replication means the virus multiplies in your throat. So replication of the virus. Now the virus replicates in your throat, usually maximum 3 to 4 days, and it can go on till 9 to 10 days. But it cannot replicate after 10 days. So remdesivir, if you are giving, it should be within first 10 days. So if doctor asks you when was the first day of your symptom, you should be exactly able to tell the doctor so that he can arrange his medicines, all the treatment around COVID accordingly. So that's the way your first day is very, very important. And the whole disease ends on 90 days. That means suppose within 90 days you test and you are RT-PCR positive, there are all the chances that this infection was the first one which you got it on the first day itself. But if you are RT-PCR positive after 90 days, it doesn't longer that long. That means you are reinfected. So getting that first day and 90 days period, even planning your vaccination is very important. That when you had the COVID, doctor will tell you, you can have your after 1.5 months or 2 months. So you should be very careful to note down which was your first day of symptom.
Okay, now my RT-PCR is positive, suppose, or I have symptoms.
Yeah.
Even if the test is negative, I have symptoms, so I have to be careful. Right?
Yes.
So if the test is positive or I have symptoms, what next? What should I do?
So if you have symptoms, again, you are in two groups. You are very young, or maybe you are around 50, but you don't have any comorbidity. So you can just home isolate. But those people who are above 60, who have diabetes, hypertension, or any cardiovascular diseases, who have undergone bypass, angioplasties, or those who have cancers, especially those who have immunosuppressive diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, HIVs. So all such people, these people are vulnerable. So they are usually not allowed home isolation or a home isolation in a very strict monitoring. And for home isolation, usually the people who are less than 60 and who don't have comorbidities. Now, home isolation, you should have first a separate bedroom with separate toilet, because COVID virus usually spreads through the toilets. So separate toilet and room is must. Now, when you get your RT-PCR positive, you have to contact some doctor whom you know, who is nearby, who will guide you well. But after contacting the doctor, you should be prepared in your mind that when I am isolating in this room for another 14 days, it's a Vipassana. It's actually not a Vipassana because you will be speaking on the mobile. And never ever forget to take your mobile. I know none of you will forget many other things, but you will not forget your mobiles and charges. So that you have to take to your room, your all hobbies, what are you going to do, or you want books, everything, your whole supply, you should be prepared in mind. See, forewarned is forearmed. So if I get RT-PCR positive, these things I will carry, because there is no point opening your door 1,000 times, telling your mama give me this, daddy give me this, and again, it's not then the strict isolation. Then you are even making your family members vulnerable. So whatever you want, arrange and take it inside. Now, medically, I will tell you your paracetamol tablets, your betadine bottle for your gargling, some steam inhaler if you feel choked, nose, then just inhale steam and make yourself clear, and thermometer and your pulse oximeter. These are must. Your doctor may advise you some medicines like ivermectin, doxycycline. There are many medicines which are tried. It's as per their own experiences. No data is because we are not in COVID for 5 years to have all the data available. So whatever your doctor prescribes you as per your conditions, you start taking those medicines. But must is vitamin C, zinc, and as I already told you, and your paracetamol for your fever. That is must. Now about the temperature, you have to regularly check your temperature. Make a simple chart that at least 4 times in a day, every say 4 hours or 3 hours. 4 hours also is fine if you are young. So note down your temperature and note it down on the paper. So that the same paper you can just WhatsApp and give it, show it to your doctor. Then the SpO2. SpO2 is the must. It is by the time you all must have known about finger oximeter. Each and every one of us should have a finger pulse oximeter at home. It has to be best in the middle finger because middle finger gets the arterial supply from the ulnar and radial, both the sides. So this is the best circulated finger. And your working hand, if your left is your left, if your right is your right. Put it in the middle of the finger. This is the pulse oximeter. Put it on the middle of the finger and wait for some time. See, it never shows immediately. It takes almost 30 seconds to show you the reading. So you wait for some time. The reading will start coming. Yes. And it comes, it doesn't settle. Sometimes it goes on increasing. And then it settles. Now it's 99 and my pulse is 90. So allow it to settle and check that SpO2 every 4 hourly. And the most important that is SpO2 I will like to stress here is about 6-minute walk test. Those who are bedridden, those who are old need not do it. They can just check their SpO2 at rest. But if you check your respiratory SpO2, that is oxygen at rest, and then you walk fast for say 6 minutes, and then check it again. And if you find a drop of 3 to 5%, that is, say if you have a 98, the base reading, and after walking 6 minutes fast, you get the reading 94. Yes, you have to be cautious. And this is the stage 2 days prior to falling off the oxygen. So you have now enough time to plan for 2 days that I may require oxygen after 2 days. So 6-minute walk test is must. You please do it in all your relatives and spread it more and more to other people so that people can catch themselves pretty early than passing into a real drop of oxygen, and they can be treated well in the hospital. Then your betadine gargling and your steam inhalation that should go on, and your breathing exercises. Wash your hands frequently. Wash your utensils and your clothes on your own. So all our male members should be able to do that. It's not like you give the जूता बर्तन बाहर दिया और कोई और मांझ रहा है, नहीं, ऐसा नहीं. अपना खुद करना चाहिए. You will be served food outside your room, and you have to take it, clean everything for yourself. And another thing for the caregivers who are outside, if at all they have to enter in the room, please wear your N95 masks. Without that mask, don't enter the room. And wash thoroughly after you go out again. First of all, don't enter, but if at all enter, never without mask. And you can always communicate on WhatsApp, and you can speak with the people who are outside, and keep yourself positive. So that's how the isolation goes. If at all you are deteriorating, how to understand it? So there are some red flag signs. So if this 6-minute walk test is coming positive, or if your SpO2 is dropping less than 94 at rest, or if you are getting fever more than 101, even with paracetamol, mind you, even with paracetamol, it's not coming down less than 101. If you are feeling breathless, or if you are feeling too tired, sleepy, disoriented, if you are getting a pain, severe pain in abdomen, or if you are getting too much cough, these are all the things which are alarming. So you should just be vigilant, especially in the second week, to watch about these things. And these are the things which are alarming, which pass you from mild to moderate. So symptom wise, if you have mild symptoms, just body ache, fever for a day or two, and then there is no fever, little or absolutely no cough, it's fine. But these are the warning signs. So all these warning signs you should note, and you should tell to your doctor as soon as you get it. So 6-minute walk test and keeping watch on these red flag signs, especially between 7 to 12 days, is very, very important in home isolation. So that's all about the home isolation. And maybe as 80% just recover, you may not get any red flag signs. And the 14 days may just pass off. And you will proudly say that I got COVID, but I didn't get any damn thing.
The 6-minute walk test that you explained, if my after walk SpO2 is below my rest SpO2, that is a sign of concern.
Not just below. See, if your resting SpO2 is 98, after walking it can be 97. No harm. It will be, because now you have done a good exercise. You have walked fast. That's okay. 3 to 5%. I mean, if your resting is 100, it falls to 95. So let us take, if your resting is around 98, 99, and it falls to 94. If there's a gap of 4 or 5, then you should be alarmed.
What if SpO2 is dropping below 94 and we start to panic that, now we need to find beds in hospitals, we need to find oxygen. Yes. That's not easy in these days.
Yes.
So what do we do in that case?
Yeah. When SpO2 starts dropping, that means now you are entering in that second inflammatory stage, which is usually in the second week. So you may need oxygen from outside, and doctor will tell you to do some serum markers. I will just tell the most important are CRP, ferritin, and D-dimer. CRP and ferritin will tell doctor about the inflammation which you have in the body, that is the swelling. And D-dimer will tell you about whether the blood clotting is happening in your body or no. So let's not go in details with it, but these markers are very important. And the third one is a CBC. CBC is a complete blood count. There are white blood cells in our body which fight whenever we have the infections. So CBC has a neutrophils, that is one of the types, and lymphocytes, that is another type. So lymphocytes are the one which are terribly used in the COVID battle inside your body. And we call it NLR ratio, that is a neutrophil to lymphocyte ratio. And that ratio tells you that whether you are in a mild COVID or in a moderate COVID. If that ratio goes more than 3.5, you go in the moderate COVID. If the CRP goes more than 10, you are passing from mild to moderate COVID. Or if there's a sudden rise of CRP. So you need not remember those things, but doctor basically will advise you those investigations, and he will come to know about your position by noting at those investigations. Now you are trying to look for a bed. You are not getting bed. You are desperate. Okay, fine. Don't get desperate. You can bring your oxygen cylinder, your oxygen concentrator at home. Cylinder is a very difficult, very easy to operate. You have, with the key, you have to open the cylinder, and there's a tube. Tube has a 2 nasal prongs, and that tube, just like your mask, it can be tightly fitted. Okay, so with that cylinder, you can take your oxygen at home. And here I will like to mention a very important thing about the prone position. Prone is the way to get out of this crisis till you get your bed. Prone is a position where you sleep on your tummy, not on your back, on your tummy. Now you have to be very careful that your pillow should be above the level of your clavicle. You can rest your head on one side, and the other pillow should be below your thighs, and the third below your legs. The whole aim in that is not to have a pressure on your chest and on your tummy. So it depends. The people who have a big tummy, they may have to take 2 or 3 pillows on below their thigh. So you adjust according to your thing. You keep your head on one side and deep breathing. Now you should understand how to do deep breathing also. For that, you should know the normal breathing. You can keep your left hand on your chest and another hand on your tummy. And when you breathe in, inhalation, the tummy should go out and the chest also should inflate. And when you breathe out, tummy should go in. So slow and deep breathing, if you do in the prone position, believe me, the SpO2 increases by 3 to 4% because luckily the COVID virus doesn't affect the back side, the back portion of your lungs. And that portion is a reserve portion. And becoming now in the prone position, you are making that portion utilize. So that is how you can tide over that period. Your doctor may start now, if there is an inflammation, they will start some medicines like steroids. If there is a thrombosis, they will start you on anticoagulants. You need not go in details of that. But till you are getting bed, your doctor can arrange for these things at home by some nurse can come and give you, or there are oral tablets also. So till you get the bed, they will prescribe you the oral tablets. So you can take your oral tablets, oxygen and prone position. Keep yourself well hydrated because most often, especially now in May, the people get dehydrated and that increases their hypoxia. So please get yourself well hydrated, drink lots of juice, water, and just be calm. And by being calm also will support you to increase your oxygenation. Another thing, in prone position itself, you can take oxygen. You can have a nasal prongs in your nose. You can have a mask. And with that, with one head on one side, you can lie down in the prone position. If you're fed up of prone position after 2 hours, be on one side. Then you can half an hour, you can be on the other side. You can sit, but try to avoid a supine position. That's not a good position. Okay. That doesn't mean if you want to sleep, you are not getting a hypoxic, you can sleep for half an hour like that. But mainly at least 12 hours in that 24, you try to be in your prone position. And that will help you to tide over the time till you get the bed. See, breathing has come so free to us. The oxygen has come so free to us. We don't understand its importance. While breathing, the abdomen should go. There are two processes. Inhalation, when you take air inside, and exhalation. Usually, inhalation and exhalation ratio is 1:2. That exhalation has to be slow. Inhalation has to be fast. And it should be a deep breathing, but with a less speed. So if you try to practice a normal breathing, then when you get hypoxic, when you get a less oxygen, that will help. Because then you will not get panicky and you will not start hyperventilating yourself. You know now I have to be calm. I have to breathe in with my full tummy out. Full tummy inside. I have to take slow and deep breaths. So this is just I'm learning, making you learn the normal breathing. And I will like to mention one more thing here about happy hypoxia. The COVID, it's called as happy hypoxia because when you get the less oxygen in your blood, immediately you start feeling dyspneic. You start feeling, oh, I'm not able to breathe. I'm feeling choked, suffocated. And you get that feeling when your oxygen level usually drops to 90 itself. But in COVID, till you get levels, I've seen people at 77 walking around happily. Because this feeling you don't get. Now, it's a much thesis to be done why they don't get that feeling. But they do not get that feeling. Maybe COVID is affecting somewhere in the nervous system also. That is how maybe we are getting loss of smell and taste. We don't know. But that happy hypoxia we have to avoid. And so monitor for SpO2. 6-minute walk test is very, very important when you are in isolation.
What is the effect of having the AC or not having the AC when a COVID positive person is quarantined? Should they use an air conditioner or should they not?
See, they say the room should be well ventilated. That's the very important. You use AC or you don't use. The room should be well ventilated. I mean, if you are using AC, that AC should be in a good condition. It should be cleaned well. It should recently you must have done the servicing of the AC so that there are no dust particles and extra fungus inside. The AC itself can be a cause of spreading of secondary fungal infections. So if you have a good AC, and in this season, I can understand you cannot tolerate temperatures of 34 degrees. You will make yourself more dehydrated. So you can put on your AC, doesn't matter. But AC should be in good condition. You should be assured about it. So get all your ACs serviced right now, get them cleaned out of the dust, because in cities like Mumbai, we have lots of dust. So that the air which circulates should be good. Basically, you should be well ventilated in whatever temperature which is suitable to your body.
What are the chances of reinfection? And after infection, vaccine कितने दिन बाद ले सकते हैं?
Okay. So once you get COVID, the antibodies develop in your body. Usually they remain for 80 to 90 days. So at least till 80 days, you are well protected. You will not get reinfected unless and until the virus mutates. That we never know. How quickly the virus will mutate, what position it will take after mutation, how virulent it will be, we don't know. You and me, no one knows. But you will not get infected with the same virus at least for 80 days. You have the resistance for 80 days. Now, regarding the vaccination, if it's a very mild COVID, you had a very mild symptoms and you have got along with it, then they usually advise 4 to 6 weeks you can get vaccinated after the first day of symptoms. But if you are mild to severe COVID, then they tell you to wait for almost 2.5 months, so that your doctor will advise you whether you were in ICU, what drugs you have received, what was your oxygenation maintained, and depending on your condition, whether you are in ICU. So your doctor will advise you that you can get vaccinated after 2 months or 2.5 months, but you are well protected with the same virus, mind you, till 80 days.
How effective is plasma therapy in COVID?
Plasma therapy has double opinions. See, I will tell you, the COVID is very young virus. It's just a 1-year virus. So whatever we are doing, it doesn't have a much data or a much randomized control study where we can authentically tell that this works or this doesn't work. But all throughout the trials, they have found out that plasma is not much useful. Now, there's a recent thing that by overusing plasma, we are inducing the virus to get mutated very fast. That is also not yet proved, but that is a thesis which is put forward. So plasma, at least I will go as per our Maharashtra COVID task force, and task force has given a good lines. And whatever I'm talking with you, I'm very thankful to our Maharashtra COVID task force. They are giving and educating the doctors also. So they have been telling that the plasma is it should not be used or it's not very useful. But on the contrary, few of the doctors have found plasma extremely useful, but in a very mild, when you are in a very mild stage. So it depends. No one can authoritatively tell about it unless and until we have randomized control studies. But now what works in COVID definitely is steroid when there is inflammation and the anticoagulants when there is a thrombosis. That works in COVID. That is proved worldwide. All other drugs are as per the experience and whatever your doctor feels. But the monoclonal antibodies instead of plasma are the thing. They are definitely working, and I think within next 2 months they are bound to come into India also. They are using it in US, especially for the people who are very vulnerable, who are likely to go into moderate. They have used it in Trump. So they are using monoclonal antibodies. That is a very that has the least side effects. So it has not yet reached to India, but it is coming in next 2 or 3 months. So let's talk about that. See, what we were thinking 1 year back, it has all the cycle has turned 360 degrees. What hydroxychloroquine we are using, we are not using now at all. So it is like everyone starts using some antiviral, something somewhere, you find the result and you go along with that. But unless and until scientifically randomized control studies are done, and if you have enough data, you can't tell. Even the vaccinations now with not enough data we have brought into the market, because now we are in a war situation. Inhaler Budecort 40, yes, 400. That is these are the steroids. These are the steroids. So if you are not getting bed, if your oxygen is dropping, and if your CRP is high, remember all these 3 points. If your oxygen is dropping, if your CRP is high, and if you are not getting bed, then this is the safest way to give steroids in your body. For that, it is not inhaler. These are the nebulizers. Nebulizers which have a small glass pipette, and in that you put the steroid, and when you start the nebulizer, it gets nebulized in small particle, and they reach you to your lungs, and that improves your oxygenation. Yes, but that is with the doctor's guidance, not on your own. And steroids should not be taken in the first week, because first week is an immunity period when your immunity has to develop and fight against the virus. On your own, your body should fight. And their steroids are harmful. So you should not just go by the thing that I will start taking steroid from the first day. No medicine without your doctor consultation. But these budesonide, it's the steroids. Yes, they give it by nebula. Nowadays, they are doing even hospitalized patient, instead of IV steroids, they are giving the nebulized steroids, and they find the side effects of steroids are very, very less by nebulized steroid rather than IV steroids. Yes, but that is up to your doctor to decide. Not in the first week, not till your CRP is high and your PO2 is dropping. Medication like Fabiflu, yes. Now Fabiflu, another thing, there is no enough data. It is not proved. I have seen patients with Fabiflu getting absolutely all right, but I have seen patients not taking anything, only paracetamol, and also getting on. So unless we have a data that Fabiflu prevents the moderate to severe COVID, we don't know. But yes, few people are using Fabiflu. It's very cumbersome because you have to take almost 9 tablets a day. The dose is 1,800 milligrams. So some people just get fed up. Ki Baba, itna no tablet nahi mere se ho jata. It's costly also. But yes, but if Fabiflu has to be given, it has to be given in first 3-4 days. It has to be started very early because it stops the replication. But I have seen again almost my 3 or 4 patients with Fabiflu going in moderate and severe COVID also and getting admitted in ICU when they are already on Fabiflu. So we don't have enough. There are Fabiflu, ivermectin, doxycycline, many drugs are used. But we don't have enough data. Now the Virafin has come, the Cadila has come with the recent drug. So they will start using that also, and we will come to know about it. So it keeps on changing. We get almost the guidelines change every month.
Any last pieces of advice that you would like to share, and then we'll close the session?
Last pieces of advice, that this pandemic will go away with fast vaccination and our good COVID appropriate behavior, discipline. So please wear your mask. Go outside whenever you are in need. Use double mask. and tell if others are not using mask. I feel we should object now that if you are not using mask, someone is not using, other 5 people come and tell him, of course, at a distance of 6 feet from him, or present him with one mask and tell him to use. At least few people who are not using will feel some shameful and they will start using masks. So there is no alternative to our COVID appropriate behavior. And if we do, or most of the society will does COVID appropriate behavior and a fast vaccination, we will come over it. That's how many countries like New Zealand have done it. Of course, they have a less population. We cannot compare our country with them, but that's the only thing we can go ahead with it. And secondly, take good precautions, take good diet, and be happy and help others, because by helping, there are all good hormones in your body and your immunity, of course, develops. Have good sleep and relax. Don't go on seeing the TV news and giving you the data. They give you the data of 4 lakh per day, but they don't give you how many have improved. They just tell these many people and death and this many deaths. I really see the media should give us more and more positive news. So keep yourself positive, happy, well protected, and well informed.